Good evening. Welcome to the City of Opa-locka regular commission meeting for Wednesday, September 9th. Madam Clerk, roll call.
Commissioner Bass,
I'm here.
Commissioner Burke,
Here.
Vice Mayor Davis,
Here.
Commissioner Kelly,
I'm present.
Mayor Pygott.
I'm here. Madam Attorney, could you state the protocols that govern these virtual meetings?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, pursuant to Executive Order 20-69 issued by the Office of Governor Ron DeSantis on March 20th, 2020, and as amended, municipalities may conduct meetings of their governing boards without having a quorum of its members present physically or at any specific location and utilizing communications media technologies such as telephonic or video conferencing as provided by Florida Statutes 120.54(5)(b)(2). The members of the City Commission appearing remotely for this meeting are Commissioners Bass, Commissioner Burke, Commissioner Kelly, Vice Mayor Davis, and Mayor Pygott. An opportunity was given for the public to email the city clerk prior to the commission meeting with any questions, comments, and concerns, and we will hear from the city clerk at the appropriate time as to any persons who have registered to speak. As of this time, Mr. Mayor, I turn the meeting back over to you.
Thank you, Madam Attorney. Commissioner Kelly, could you lead us in invocation?
Our Father and our God, we thank you for all of your many blessings. We thank you, God, for life, health, and strength. We thank you for our community. We thank you for our nation. Continue, God, to watch over us. Give us wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. Those things which are pleasing in your sight. In Jesus' name we do pray. Amen.
Vice Mayor, could you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Sir, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, sir. All right, Madam Clerk, are there any awards, proclamations, or acknowledgements?
No, Mr. Mayor.
All right, moving on to the approval of consent agenda and pull list. Do we have any pulls, deletions, or deferrals?
Mr. Mayor?
Madam Clerk?
Yes, so I needed to make a correction to one of the items on the agenda in terms of the sponsorship. And that's a first reading ordinance 16A1, which is repealing the Saggy Pants ordinance. In addition to the sponsors listed, Commissioner Joseph Kelly should also be listed as a co-sponsor. And that was an error on the city clerk's part.
Okay. All right, thank you. Are there any pulls, deletions, or deferrals from the consent agenda?
Mayor?
Commissioner Kelly?
Yes, I'd like to pull item number 2 and item number 3.
All right. Pulls, deletions, or deferrals? All right, do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Move it.
Moved by Vice Mayor Davis,
Second?
second by Commissioner Kelly. Madam Clerk, roll call.
Vice Mayor Davis,
Yes.
Commissioner Kelly,
Yes.
Commissioner Bass,
Yes.
Commissioner Burke,
Yes.
Mayor Pygott.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Move it.
Moved by Commissioner Bass,
Second?
second by Vice Mayor Kelly. Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Kelly,
Yes.
Commissioner Bass,
Yes.
Commissioner Burke,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Davis,
Yes.
Mayor Pygott.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
All right. Do I have a motion to approve the virtual regular commission meeting minutes for July 22nd, 2020?
Move it.
Moved by Commissioner Bass,
Second?
second by Commissioner Kelly. Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Bass,
Yes.
Commissioner Burke,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Davis,
Yes.
Commissioner Kelly,
Yes.
Mayor Pygott.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Do I have a motion to approve the virtual special commission meeting minutes for July 28, 2020?
Move it.
Moved by Vice Mayor Davis,
Second.
second by Commissioner Bass. Madam Clerk, roll call.
Commissioner Burke,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Davis,
Yes.
Commissioner Kelly,
Yes.
Commissioner Bass,
Yes.
Mayor Pickett.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Do I have a motion to approve the virtual special commission meeting minutes for July 30th, 2020?
Move it.
Moved by Commissioner Kelly,
Second.
second by Vice Mayor Davis. Madam Clerk, roll call.
Vice Mayor Davis,
Yes.
Commissioner Kelly,
Yes.
Commissioner Bass,
Yes.
Commissioner Burke,
Yes.
Mayor Pickett.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Do we have reports from District 1 or 2?
No, Mr. Mayor.
All right, moving on to public presentation. We have Sarah Futis. Thank you. Is she on?
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. Thank
My
you.
name is Sarah Fuchs, and I'm a college student, and I wanted to talk about an issue that I believe is really important, but you might not even be aware of. So there are federal and state laws that protect employees from workplace discrimination, including sexual harassment, racism, discrimination against someone's religion, discrimination against someone's age, and all sorts of horrible discrimination that people unfortunately do face in the workplace. But in all but a handful of states and cities, if you're a worker who's an independent contractor, you do not have those federal protections against discrimination like an employee does. So the reason is that the 1964 federal civil rights laws and the Florida Civil Rights Act of 1992 explicitly protect employees from discrimination. But independent contractors, by definition, are not employees and are therefore left out of these protections. So this means that an employer in Florida could refuse to hire an independent contractor because of their race or gender, and that would not be illegal. So that person would have no legal recourse against that injustice. A female independent contractor working in Florida could get fired because the company she's working at decides they don't want to do the job, and she would also have no legal recourse against justice. An independent contractor who's a person of color could get fired because they decided that they didn't want a person of color doing the job anymore. A female contractor working in Florida could get fired because she didn't respond to her boss's sexual advances, and because workplace sexual harassment of independent contractors is not illegal like it is for employees, she would have no legal recourse. An independent contractor working in Florida could be sexually harassed or discriminated against because of their race or because of their age or because of their gender, and they could speak out against that injustice or complain about that sexual harassment or discrimination they're facing, and they could get fired for that, and they would have no legal recourse. So if the female independent contractor or the independent contractor who happens to be older than the age that someone would want, or the independent contractor who happens to be a person of color, and they had been applying as an employee or they had been working for a company as an employee, all of the scenarios I mentioned would have been illegal, and that independent contractor could have fought it. But because that independent contractor is classified as an independent contractor and not as an employee, it is not illegal for that person's superior at work to discriminate against that person because of a number of reasons that that person would have been protected under had they been an employee. So that person just has no legal protection in their places of work. And something that I am proud of is that when I brought this issue to the attention of the Miami Beach Commission, and particularly Commissioner Steve Miner, he worked with me to change this in Miami Beach so that independent contractors working in our city would not have to face discrimination without legal protections. And oh, I'm out. Okay. Sorry. Okay, I guess I'm out of time. Can I just wrap up really quickly?
Yes.
Thank you. So just basically, in conclusion, only a handful of states in varying degrees have amended their civil rights laws to include independent contractors and workplace anti-discrimination. And unfortunately, Florida is not one of those states. So it's really up to the cities in Florida to decide whether or not they want to give independent contractors the same rights from discrimination that employees have. And, you know, it's possible because Miami Beach has done it. And I have been really fortunate to be speaking with the vice mayor and just about this and, you know, wanting to change this in the city of Opa-locka to make the city of an independent contractor working in the city of Opa-locka to make them protected against discrimination, which should never happen to any employee or worker or independent contractor, but unfortunately still does. So that's why they need protections from that.
Thank you very much, Ms. Fuchs. Appreciate you bringing us to our attention. Any comments or questions for Ms. Fuchs? And am I pronouncing it wrong?
Oh, Fuchs, that's a Fuchs.
Fuchs.
Don't
All
worry,
right.
everyone gets it wrong. So please do not feel bad about that at all.
No problem.
Mr. Mayor.
Vice Mayor Davis.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm gonna just say, Sarah, thank you for reaching out to the city and all the work you're doing down here in the South Florida community around bringing equity to our independent contractor community. The reason I asked Sarah to come and present today is just to share her knowledge and what she's been doing in the South Florida community around independent contractors and just making sure that you know, that we have a equitable, more equitable, fair place to live and play and work. So thank you for that. It is my hope that, you know, eventually we as a city consider these concerns and, of course, you know, tag along with the Civil Rights Act, which created the protected classes that, you know, states and others have adopted later on. You know, that we share in that same synergy and bring equity to our community and our workforce. So thanks again, Sarah. And with that, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you for having me.
All right, anyone else?
Mr. Mayor?
Commissioner Kelly?
Thank you. Thank you for your presentation and Mr. Vice Mayor for inviting her. I will look forward to potential legislation if needed so that we can ensure that anyone in our community is obviously treated fair and equitable. So I look forward to supporting something along those lines. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
All right. All right, hearing no one else, Ms. Fuchs, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to come in and introduce this item to us, and then for your activism to do so in your own city and across Miami-Dade County. Much respect, continue to keep going. We look forward to seeing that legislation and seeing how it fits in the city of Opa-locka. But thank you for taking the time out of your day.
Thank you so much for caring about this issue and for wanting to make the city of Opa-locka as equitable as possible. So thank you.
All right, and take care. Thank you. All right, moving on to Citizens Forum. Madam Clerk, could you state the protocols that govern Citizens Forum and move forward with any comments from our citizens?
Good evening. The public had an opportunity to submit comments for this evening's meeting up until 5 p.m. today via email at publiccomments@opalockafl.gov, by calling 786-618-2636, or by registering to join Zoom webinar. At this time, Mr. Mayor, there are no public comments.
Thank you. Is it possible to add this information to our website where citizens can click upcoming commission meeting and register to be a part of the Zoom?
Mr. Mayor, if I may, this is Nelson. Absolutely. That's something that'll be done for the upcoming meeting.
All right. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. All right. I'll continue to encourage our citizens to be engaged and involved in these meetings. We value your opinion, and we're setting up the infrastructure so that you can get on here and make sure your voice is heard. So with that said, let's move on to our action items. Madam Attorney.
A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Opa-locka, Florida, authorizing the city manager to approve change order request number 1 for RJ Spencer Construction LLC for the provision of the parking lot improvements at 2105 Alibaba Avenue in an amount not to exceed $15,000, providing for incorporation of recitals, providing for an effective date. This is sponsored by the city manager.
All right. Do I have a motion on this item?
Move for discussion.
Moved by Commissioner Kelly,
Second.
second by Commissioner Bass. Mr. Manager, want to introduce this item?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I defer this item for discussion to Mr. Austin.
Okay, on this item, the recommended changes to the parking lot include adding sidewalks for the safe movement of pedestrians between the parking lot and the building, improving the handicap parking spaces to meet the ADA requirements and federal law. We changed the parking lot layout to make it a one-way traffic, lessening the chances of collisions and blockages while moving through the parking lot. We converted the straight-in parking to angled parking to make cars more accessible for ingress and egress. We also maximized the parking spaces in the parking lot to make it safer. We are improving the drainage for the parking lot to prevent the flooding that occurred in that area. And we also enclosed the dumpster for the garbage. It was an open dumpster, now it's enclosed to meet our code for dumpster enclosures. That is it for this parking lot. I'm open to any questions or concerns.
All right, floor is open for discussion.
Mayor,
Commissioner Kelly.
thank you. We've had several, I guess, Mr. Austin, how many change orders have we had for this particular project, number one? Number two, I thought that the sidewalks were already being done as a part of another project to meet ADA compliance. I understand inside with the parking spots, but you said outside on the sidewalk we're spending money. I thought it had already been approved to another means that we were already doing sidewalks throughout the city. And how will this also, looking at your layout, with the new fencing that you're proposing, it will be totally cut off from the Kabum Park? Or will there be an entrance from the gate or whatever you're proposing, fencing, to go to the Kabum Park, or you still have to go all the way around?
There's, go ahead, sorry.
I was just asking them all at one time, so you can just answer. And the last thing, so far we spent, and I know there's an amount allocated, are we still under the projected amount with this change order in terms of being able to complete this project? Those are my questions. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. First question, the sidewalks are related to this project because the sidewalk, there's a sidewalk and a walkway. We are addressing the walkway that takes you to the building. That was not ADA compliant. And we are not addressing any sidewalks in this vicinity at this time. So we thought it would be best fit to address the sidewalks for this facility during this project. As created, second question, which is the access to Kabum Park. Kabum would have access from the north exit gate that is gonna remain active during the operational hours of the facility, so they do not have to walk around the building to get to the park. The funding for this building improvements is still under the $471,000 allocated by CDBG, and it's all encompassing of the change orders that we had so far. We have not spent any money from city coffers on this project thus far.
Okay, and I'm trying to picture in my mind, you said your parking, your entrance to go to Kabum is going to come out the north end of the parking lot, correct?
Correct.
okay, so you're creating a designated walkway or something to come out of there? Because there's a house or whatever it is there. When you come out of there, are they gonna have to go all the way around?
In lieu of that, we would consider entrance to the park, but remember, there's an easement between the park and the facility, so we'll have to create a walkway. If that's the desire of the commission, we could go ahead and incorporate that change as well.
Well, Mr. Mayor, I'm still trying to figure out if that's the way folks at park are expected to go potentially into the park, if they're gonna go into the park, there has to be some kind of walkway, et cetera. Because a lot of times, assuming, and I know the pandemic is not going on, you have things that will tie in with the building, depending upon what the city does with it, that may interface with an activity with the park. And having to go around would make sense. So if you're going to create a entrance from the north side, I would assume you got to create some kind of walkway or something that people could walk on, not just dirt or grass. I didn't see that in your plan. That's why I'm asking.
We did not envision a tie-in to the park, but we'll make that modification.
No, I mean, you're not doing it because of me. I'm just curious. I mean, I guess you're making an assumption that the building is totally, and the parking is totally just for the building, which I understand, but, and knowing how a lot of times that facility is being used or been used, there are functions or tie-ins. And since we are going to make improvements, to the Kabum Park, if you're going to do something with the fencing, to me, now is the time to make that entrance or walkway or whatever, as opposed to having to go back and do it. That's just my thoughts. I mean, you're a professional, so that was just my concern on it. I'll hear my colleagues. Thank you very much.
Okay. Any other discussion on this item?
Mayor Paget,
Commissioner Bass?
just a quick question to Mr. Austin. With the new projects for that parking space, will the rearrangement of the cars increase or decrease parking spaces?
It only decreases the parking space by two additional parking spaces.
Okay. Just curious. Thank you.
Any other discussion on this item?
Mr. Mayor.
Vice Mayor Davis?
To Mr. Austin, with the you're making to the pathway compliant. I'm sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah, you got to clear it up towards the end. Go ahead. I think that.
Sorry. Mr. Austin, with the changes that you're making to the fence and the walkway, is it ADA compliant?
Yes, the prime objective of this project is to make the total facility inside and out ADA compliant.
So it would satisfy any concerns relating to the park and access and it being, I guess, accessible for someone that's ADA instead of maybe having to enter in through the sidewalks or the street in some way. It would, I guess that would suffice.
Yes, it will.
As an interest, okay.
With the new consideration from Commissioner Kelly, we'll have to evaluate that portion of the project to see how we can make it blend in with our efforts.
Okay.
All right. I think Commissioner Kelly brought up an excellent idea in terms of making sure that parking area connects with the Kabum Park. And to that effect, I know that we've had issues at Kabum Park in terms of security, loitering, and all those things. Will the Kabum Park be fenced in, and will this be a part of the fencing connected to this fencing operation?
Our future plan for the parks is to include fencing for the Kabum Park to make it a more socially active park rather than being controlled by the people in the neighborhood. We wanted to have people come back to the park. So we were fencing it to make access more defined rather than anybody coming from anywhere around the park to get in there.
Okay. And what what type of fence will actually be there for that gate?
All new fencing systems will be a wrought iron style to prevent vandalism to the fencing systems.
So it won't be a gate that easily pull down. It'll be the pole.
The wrought iron fence upright bars.
All right. And I do concur with Commissioner Kelly in ensuring that there is an opening that goes to the park and takes in consideration the park next door. And hopefully that the fence is put in a way in which when we do fence up the park too, everything is connected and everything looks together.
Will do, sir.
Any other discussion on this item? Madam Clerk, roll call.
Commissioner Kelly,
Yes.
Commissioner Bass,
Yes.
Commissioner Burke,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Davis,
Yes.
Mayor Pygott.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Madam Attorney.
A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Opa-locka, Florida, authorizing the city manager to enter into an agreement with EAC Consulting, Inc. for continuing professional architectural and engineering consulting services to develop a citywide stormwater master plan and capital improvement plan, or SWMP, providing for incorporation of recitals, providing for an effective date. This is sponsored by the city manager.
All right. Do I have a
Moving
motion?
for discussion?
Moved by Commissioner Kelly,
Second.
Second.
second by Vice Mayor Davis. Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm very excited about this agenda item. I'm gonna give Mr. Austin the luxury of going over it, but this is one key part to the city doing its stormwater master plan. We've been dealing with this issue for several years now. We awarded our contracts in regards to engineering services, and now as part of engineering services, now we're talking about our stormwater master plan, and I'll let Mr. Austin take it from here.
Okay, this plan is expected to take 5 months to provide us with some deliverables. It's gonna address the entire city's stormwater needs. There's gonna be designs done that after the deliverables are with us, we could then put the priority projects out for bid without having to develop any further specifications. This project delivers the specifications needed for the priority areas of our city that's in most need of flood management. There's not much else I could say about this. However, it addresses our current state of emergency for our flooding citywide. And this is intended to rein that in. I'll accept any questions or concerns with this item.
Thank you, Mr. Austin. The floor is open for discussion.
Mr. Mayor,
And Commissioner Kelly.
thank you. I'm glad to see it moving forward. I know it's a long time coming. Couple of questions on the agreement, the 99,600, whatever the amount for this agreement is just for the first phase, correct?
First phase, yes, sir. That is
Okay.
for the fiscal year.
I'm sorry.
For fiscal year 20.
Okay. And it's coming out of the other professional services, which according to the document, will only leave us not much left in that particular line item for other professional services. Do we anticipate needing any more that would, or something that would come out of that line item? Do y'all plan to replenish it in a budget amendment, or when you budget, was it specifically knowing this in mind and nothing else would be needed to come out of it?
Right now, it's just we projected that this is the most needed work for this stormwater plan. This addresses the design. So for the first 2 months of the end of fiscal year 20, this is addressing that. in a very short period, we'll be moving into the fiscal year 21, where we're gonna realize a new line item that would deal with not only paying for the phase 2 of this project, but it's gonna lend to future improvements of our stormwater infrastructure.
So, Mr. Mayor, again, a follow-up. So then you will not need to replenish this. You have a separate line item that you will be using for the future. Is that what you're saying?
Under the same accounts we will be using for this project. We do not envision any projects for stormwater related capital work prior or during this evaluation process.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Any other discussion on this item?
Mr. Mayor,
Vice Mayor Davis?
one quick question to the director, Mr. Austin. As we, I guess, go out and get the master, the stormwater plan, are we looking at options, I guess, to hold private property owners accountable? I know we discussed it in the past about including that. Is that also being put forth?
That will be a major part of our undertaking in these projects. Any projects that are in the industrial area where the roadway needs to be of a higher degree will be addressed with the proration of all the adjacent businesses to build out a roadway that's compatible for their type of business. So it's not going to be effective in the residential area because the roadway there will be standard, but for anywhere in the industrial areas where the roadway needs to be overbuilt, we are going to address it with assessments to the adjacent property owners.
Okay, so more of an emphasis placed on the commercial, our commercial property owners as opposed to residential.
Correct.
I know my hope with that plan was to also look at those options as well, being, you know, the sheer number of concerns within our multifamily complexes with flooding and the like. Well, I guess it's not the right fit or position for this particular initiative, but maybe going forward, maybe we can look at options, you know, in some way, looking at our private property owners and seeing how we can hold them accountable on a residential side.
Mr. Mayor, may I?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Vice Mayor, just to kind of piggyback on what you're saying, articulating your concerns. I am working with Public Works right now in regards to dealing with some concerns in regards to Glorietta Gardens and the flooding issue over there, and potentially sectioning out $150,000 to clean out the retention area over there, in regard, as well as do some other minor improvements in order to deal with flooding issues over there. But it all falls in line. But I know the city is looking for potential immediate action in the coming months to kind of deal with those issues over there as well as our other facilities as well.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Manager.
Any other discussion on this item? All right, Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Bass,
Yes.
Commissioner Burke,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Davis,
Yes.
Commissioner Kelly,
Yes.
Mayor Paget.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Madam Attorney.
An ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Opa-locka, Florida, repealing same subject ordinance numbers 07-19 and 13-33, which implemented a ban on wearing saggy pants and shirts in city buildings and parks, providing for incorporation of recitals, providing for severability and codification, providing for an effective date. This is sponsored by Vice Mayor Davis, Mayor Paget, Commissioner Bass, and Commissioner Kelly.
Mr. Vice Mayor, I have a motion on this. Well, this is a public hearing item.
Yeah.
Madam Clerk, is there any public comments on this item?
There are none, Mr. Mayor.
All right, do I have a motion?
Move it.
Moved by Vice Mayor Davis,
Second.
second by Commissioner Bass. Vice Mayor, since you brought this to us, do you want to introduce this item?
Sure, Mr. Mayor. So yes, this is the Saggy Pants Ordinance that was originally implemented in 2007 here in our city. The original intent of this law, a certain code of dress within our community, specifically aimed originally at young Black males or males in general, encouraging them to, pull up their pants and to carry themselves in a respectable manner. I think we all on this board agree with that intent. We don't want our residents walking around displaying themselves in a disrespectful manner that would be to them and their family and their community. However, this law in its inception got a lot of feedback, negative feedback in its implementation. So this law was pretty much, aimed at, it was accused of targeting a certain segment of our population. So as you know, it started out, just kind of covering our city buildings, so our buildings and our parks, and then it, expanded to our public domain. And also went from just kind of targeting men to targeting both genders to make it more, I guess, equitable. In my opinion, Mr. Mayor, never in a million years would I support a law that, that points, that I guess segment a certain percentage of our population and criminalize them for nonviolent offenses. I think the original fine was at $250 and it went up to $500, which I believe is, way too high. I originally asked for data on implementation to see, what citations were given or, just what were the numbers of offenses, which I never actually received, but but I'm actually sure that the number is pretty low. So given, the low level of enforcement and given that, this administration in particular is moving in a new direction as far as equity and police in our community, I saw fit to sponsor this legislation in hopes of making things more equitable for our community, and also, putting things that will ultimately, get the city and maybe some liability down the road, putting it to the side. So with that, Mr. Mayor, that's my introduction of the item. I'd like to hear from the rest of my colleagues. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Davis. Commissioner Burke.
Mr. Mayor, let me give you a little background on this. Vice Mayor Davis was saying there was a lot of pushback on this. When this ordinance was accepted, we had people from as far as Tokyo. Tokyo sent a film crew to the city of Opa-locka to find out about this ordinance. This ordinance was not to target our young Black men, but to uplift our young Black men. And as of today, we still have our young men walking around with saggy, baggy pants that a lot of them don't even know the history of the saggy pants. I'm not saying that it has not served its purpose, but we still have that problem with our young men and our young girls now walking around with their pants hanging down off their behinds, going into the stores in the city. And for us to sit here and say, well, you know, we're moving in another direction. Here's another ordinance where I think if you had any citations written, the person was always able to do community service. I'm one for uplifting our young Black men. If they need help and getting that, then we're here to do it. But if y'all see fit to do away with it and just continue to let our young Black men walk around into our buildings like that with our elderly constituents in the city, then so be it. But I just wanted to give you a little history on that. But we did have people come from as far as Tokyo with the film crew to implement this program in their area. Thank you.
Any other discussion on this item?
Mayor,
Commissioner Kelly?
thank you. I wanted to be a part of the co-sponsorship. I was around when this was instituted, and I remember exactly what Commissioner Burke is saying. And in my opinion, as you will discover if you're around long enough, sometimes you make laws, and then sometimes you watch those laws need to evolve and or change and or be upgraded. I think this is one of those at the moment with the challenge that was going on with wearing pants, as he said, without any respect for anybody. There was a need, in my opinion. The challenge became because there was no real enforcement and follow-up on what was really trying to address, which was the wearing of clothes in certain ways. I'm hopeful that since this will be repealed, but there'll also be some kind of follow-up and some kind of education going forward, because there is still a need to remind individuals that there is certain attire you ought to wear at certain places. But I think this is one of those, because of the lack of follow-up, lack of enforcement, lack of education and follow-up that should have occurred with this ordinance at the time, which I really felt the time was needed, because it was very challenging to go into a city building, to go into the library, to go in places and people just openly just wearing clothes down, and there was nothing on the books to do it. There was measures in place, as Commissioner Burke said, that you could do community service and or fines. I don't think any of that was ever really followed through with. But I will say, I hope if this is repealed, because I think its usefulness has run its course in terms of legislation, that there is still an education component somewhere that someone follows up with to educate our young people on attire and what is appropriate to wear. Because I see even before the pandemic around the parks, et cetera, folks still wearing clothes down, whatever, in stores, what have you. That, in my opinion, still is inappropriate. But I think this ordinance, because of its lack of enforcement and follow through, has run its course. And that's why I'm supporting the repeal of it. But hopefully it's not something we forget the need to address. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
All right, anyone else?
Mayor Payette?
Commissioner Bass?
Yes, I also support the repeal on this, because if it goes way back, that truth be told is all based on your moral compass. So the lack of enforcement is not surprising to me. Again, it's moral compass. I think if we were to continue with this, it will be like it's been for years, non and void, just on the books, and nothing's been done with it. It goes back again to moral compass. It behooves each and every one of us to look ourselves in the mirror and let truth be told. Thank you.
All right, here no further discussion. I want to just thank the Vice Mayor and all the sponsors for moving this item. I was one of those young men that drank the Kool-Aid and had my pants sagging back in the day. and was told better. I know better now, and see the tackiness of it as being a grown man at this moment. And I do support the encouragement and making sure that we take care of that decorum. But I'm also very much in favor of making sure them signs get taken down. They long overdue, and they need to go. They're eyesore on the city, and this is one step moving forward. So I want to commend the vice mayor for bringing this up and our co-sponsors, and looking forward to the passage of it. If we can vote tomorrow, I'll vote tomorrow too. Pass it on second reading. But thank you very much. Madam Clerk, roll call.
Commissioner Burke? I'm sorry?
No.
Vice Mayor Davis?
Yes.
Commissioner Kelly?
Yes.
Commissioner Bass?
Yes.
Mayor Pygott?
Yes.
Motion passes 4-1, first reading.
Madam Attorney?
An ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Opa-locka, Florida, dual designating 36th Avenue from 135th Street to 151st Street as Commissioner Barbara Jordan Way, providing for the repeal of all ordinances in conflict herewith, providing for severability, providing for inclusion in the code, providing for an effective date. This is sponsored by Commissioner Kelly.
Move it.
Public hearing item. Are there any public comments?
No, Mr. Mayor.
All right, do I have a motion?
Move it.
Moved by Commissioner Kelly. I think that was second by Commissioner Burke. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right, Commissioner Kelly, it's your item. You want to introduce it?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As we all know, Commissioner Jordan is terming out, and over the last how many ever years, she's been a very big supporter of the city of Opa-locka and helping us to realize much of the progress that we have made over the years. Whether it's infrastructure, she's always went to bat for the city, whether it was technical support, pushing for dollars, and she has continued to do that throughout the years. And I wanted, in my own thinking, to recognize her, where she would be able to know just how much the city appreciated her. I know she's received resolutions and commendations before, but I wanted to do something that would have a lasting impression. And so I wanted to sponsor, and hopefully my colleagues support, renaming the dual designation, if you will, of the area that is located. And also, let me say for the record, because I did ask the manager and the clerk, and hearing from the attorney, we did not need to, but as a part of this is also to present her with a key to the city as a part of this recognition. So that is what is before us. And I know it has to go before the county and all of those processes. And I wanted to get started early because I'd like to be able to obviously do it before she will leave out of office. So that is the purpose of the ordinance. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
All right. Any other discussion on this item?
Very quick, Mayor, just for the record, what Commissioner Kelly was referring to when he said from the city attorney was that we don't need to have specific legislation for a key to the city. That's I just want to make it clear. We're totally not in disagreement or any way with this ordinance.
Okay. Any other discussion on this item?
Mayor Pygott?
Commissioner Bass?
Not a discussion, just a few comments. Me personally, I met Commissioner Barbara Jordan many years ago, maybe 15 years ago. I was a young girl back in the day, and she did some work with my parents on 79th and 12th. She has been an inspiration to me as the up-and-coming public servant. And I just want to applaud her for the work that she has done, for the ground roots that she has set for many like me, up-and-coming public servants. And I just want to tell her thank you, and God bless.
All right. Any other discussion on this item?
Mr. Mayor.
Vice Mayor Davis?
Thank you. Yeah, just to echo my colleague sentiments, you know, the commissioner, she's come through for us in some of the, so many times during this, you know, short 2-year period, at least from my experience as a public official. So just want to commend her for that and all the work she does for District 1. You know, the commissioner has always been an advocate for the city, and I believe she could continue to advocate for the city beyond her term in office. So again, you know, thank you, Commissioner. Thank you for the work that you proffered to the community over the years. We hope that you enjoy this small token of our, I guess, a token of our gratitude to definitely, you know, because we really appreciate all the things you do for our community. So thank you.
No further comments on this item. Commissioner Barbara Jordan has been a key component in the development and growth of the city of Opa-locka, especially during this administration, and my support in terms of me being an elected official here in the city of Opa-locka and what she has done in and around our county and our district is phenomenal. So much respect for giving her the honor of moving forward. So I just want to give my kudos and respect for it. And we can move the item. Madam Clerk.
Vice Mayor Davis,
Yes.
Commissioner Kelly,
Yes.
Commissioner Bass,
Yes.
Commissioner Burke,
Yes.
Mayor Pygott.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0 first reading.
Madam Attorney.
An ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Opa-locka, Florida, amending Article 2, Division 2, Section 2-45, entitled Agenda, to allow for a portion of each regular City Commission agenda to include future agenda items, providing for severability, conflict and repealer, inclusion in the code, and providing for an effective date. First reading was held on July 8th, 2020. This is sponsored by Commissioner Bass, Mayor Pygott, and Vice Mayor Davis.
It's a public hearing item. Madam Clerk, do we have any public comments?
No, Mr. Mayor.
All right. Do I have a motion for this item?
I'm moving the item.
Moved by Commissioner Bass,
I'll second it.
second by Vice Mayor Davis. Commissioner Bass, you want to introduce this item?
Yes, as it was stated by our attorney on July 8th, this item had its first reading. And again, this was primarily because of the League of City training we received, who mentioned it, and I thought that it was a brilliant idea of having a future agenda items. I'm just gonna take a minute to basically read what I read before. So at the end of this, I'm hoping that we will still have the support to move this. Again, this matter was suggested in the League of Cities training. It is my desire to give the city manager the best opportunity to utilize staff by focusing on commission items that have the majority of the city commission support before the items are placed on the city commission agenda for a final vote. Adding a future agenda item section to the commission agenda will give the commission an opportunity to be more organized. Several cities have portions of their regular city commission based on recent trainings, and also speaking with our city's attorney. Having a future agenda item section would allow the staff to better prepare for commission items following a thoughtful discussion by the city commission on the subject matter or issue. When an issue is brought to future agenda items, my intent is to state just enough information of the item to be voted on to move forward to the next commission meeting. It is not my intent for there to be a lengthy discussion on the item that we'll discuss for the next meeting. Finally, by allowing the portion of the agenda I'm sorry, let me go back. Finally, by allowing a portion of the agenda item for discussion, we will have to do our own research and also have time to speak with the city manager about the feasibility of the item. And I'm gonna continue to ask for your support because to me, it saves a lot of time and it's not fly by night. Again, we have time to do our own research, talk to whomever we need to talk to. So when we are in our meetings, we don't have to waste a whole lot of time. Not that discussions are a waste of time, but we would already know where our mindset lies within that voting range. Thank you.
Any other discussion on this item? All right, Commissioner Bass, I applaud you for bringing this up. And this is something that will help with the efficiency of our city and how we move items. So much respect for bringing it to our attention. Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Kelly,
Yes.
Commissioner Bass,
Yes.
Commissioner Burke,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Davis,
Yes.
Mayor Pygott.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Madam Attorney.
An ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Opa-locka, Florida, amending Ordinance 15-31, Article 10, sign regulations of the land development regulations by retroactively extending the deadline for all non-conforming signage to become fully compliant until December 31st, 2020, providing for repealer, severability, codification, and an effective date. First reading was held on July 22nd, 2020. This is sponsored by the city manager.
This is a public hearing item. Madam Clerk, are there any public comments?
No, Mr. Mayor, there are none.
All right, do I have a motion?
Move it.
Moved by Commissioner Burke,
Second.
second by Vice Mayor Davis. Floor is open for discussion. Mr. Manager, you want to introduce this item?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. This in regards to extending the deadline to December 31st, 2020, and giving enough time for community development along with the assistance of the city attorney's office to fully review the sign regulations for implementation. If there are any further questions, I do leave the floor open to Mr. Gay to answer any additional questions on this matter.
Any comments or questions on this item?
Mayor,
Commissioner Kelly?
thank you. I understand the modification and also extending it. The question really goes via the manager, Mr. Gay. Is there a tie-in with this in regard to the CRA facade and those kind of improvements?
Through the manager, Commissioner Kelly, there's not necessarily a tie-in. I think you may be thinking in regards to the facade improvement program and where there may be some signage opportunities. Those are independent of that. Of course, they would have to follow whatever new signage code would address those particular issues. The issue we've had thus far relates to existing signs. So if the sign that exists for those particular facades is a grandfathered in sign, we wouldn't have to do anything with that. But if you're looking at proposing new signage, they will have to follow the new code as it is presented.
Mr. Mayor, that's what I mean when I say tie-in, because I would hope, since you're the lead department on that they would be aware, I guess, when you all are disseminating your information that has been extended, that they are contemplating, they would keep that in mind. Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
No other discussion on this item? Madam Clerk, roll call.
Commissioner Bass,
Yes.
Commissioner Burke,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Davis, Vice Mayor Davis,
Looks like he's experiencing.
Yes.
Okay.
Commissioner Kelly.
Yeah.
Mayor Pygott.
Yes.
I'm sorry, did Commissioner Kelly respond?
Don't worry, I agree with Vice Mayor Davis.
Commissioner Kelly.
I approve his message, yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Madam Attorney.
An ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Opa-locka, Florida, amending the annual adopted general proprietary and special revenue funds budgets for the fiscal year commencing October 1, 2019, and ending September 30th, 2020, adjusting revenues and expenditures as reflected in Exhibit A, providing for expenditure of funds established by the budget, authorizing the city manager to take certain actions, providing for appropriation of all budgets and expenditures, providing for fees consistent with appropriations and amendment, providing for incorporation of recitals, providing for conflict and repealer, providing for severability, providing for an effective date. First reading was held on August 20th, 2020. This is sponsored by the city manager.
It's a public hearing item. Madam Clerk, are there any public comments?
No, Mr. Mayor.
All right, do I have a motion?
Move it.
Moved by Vice Mayor Davis,
Second.
second by Commissioner Bass. So, Mr. Manager, could you introduce the item?
I'll defer this matter to the budget administrator for any questions. This matter was brought up for first reading to the city commission. There have been, I believe there have been some minor changes, so I'll allow the budget administrator to brief those items.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners, other participants in the commission meeting. It's Bob Anathan, Budget Administrator. As the manager said, this is the second reading. The first reading addressed 14 items. This one addresses a 15th item. I will not go through the first 14 since they've been discussed at the first hearing. The one that was added was brought up by the police department. The new leadership there recognized a need to reinstitute a motorcycle presence. And they identified a source of it, but there was no budget for it. If it was not brought in tonight, it would not get into a budget amendment sometime, probably in the November, December time period. So the only change to what you heard on the first hearing is $18,000 coming out of the Special Law Enforcement Fund to fund a motorcycle. Just to put that in perspective, that fund at the 2018 audit had $660,000 in it. So it's easily affordable and it's recommended to be approved tonight.
All right. Any discussion on this item?
Mayor?
Commissioner Kelly?
Yes, thank you. So you're adding a motorcycle unit. So we're just purchasing, if I'm hearing you correctly, one motorcycle? Is that what the 18,000 is for?
Through the mayor, the answer, Commissioner Kelly, is definitely yes. They've actually priced out about 16,000, but I wanted to put a little bit extra in case there were some additions to it.
Okay. So I'm assuming going forward at some point they're going to add more because I can't see just the need if you want to have a unit that you're going to have more than, just have just one. So you're starting out with one. The second question, with regard to the professional services for the FEMA submission, is that a firm or an individual, or is that a consultant?
No, sir. I think that's no longer on this agenda item. It was discussed. It was deemed to be possible, but it was pulled.
It's in the packet. That's why I was just looking at it.
Well, I stand corrected then because it shouldn't have been. It was pulled. That would have been a second addition to the agenda, and it was pulled because it was the amount that was looked for was overstated. The firm that was possibly interested in it was no longer interested in it.
Okay, so number 15 is not a part of this item at all?
No, sir, it was not meant to be. It should have stopped at 14.
Okay, thank you. All right, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
All right. I'm looking at this item, and this is what the backup material reflects what we are approving. So, Mr. Anathan, if there are changes to this, we will have to make an amendment to this item. And correct me if I'm wrong, Madam Madam Attorney, is that correct?
Yes, sir. If there are changes, you would need to amend the item.
All right, so Mr. Anathan, are there any other changes outside of removing number 15, FEMA documentation and submission support?
Sir, that's it. Excuse me.
All right, does anyone want to put a motion on the floor to remove number 15 from this amendment?
I'll move it, Mr. Mayor.
Moved by Commissioner Kelly,
Second.
second by Commissioner Bass. And floor is open for discussion. Madam
Mayor
Clerk.
Praggett?
Oh, go ahead, Commissioner Bass.
Yeah, just quickly, I just have a far-fetched, I guess, thought. Within our department, do we have any officers qualified as motorcycle operators? And if not, do we have funds set aside for training?
Through the mayor,
Yes, sir.
the question is, yes, we do. And we do have funds set aside for training as well.
Okay, thank you so much.
Any other discussion on the amendment? All right, Madam Clerk, roll call.
Vice Mayor Davis,
Yes.
Commissioner Kelly,
Yes.
Commissioner Bass,
Yes.
Commissioner Burke,
Yes.
Mayor Pygott.
Yes.
Motion passes on the amendment 5-0.
Any discussion on the main motion? All right, Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Burke,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Davis,
Yes.
Commissioner Kelly,
Yes.
Commissioner Bass,
Yes.
Mayor Pygott.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
All right. That concludes our action items for this evening. Mr. Manager, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First, I would like to thank the commission and staff for their support over the last month. I know the commission asked me not to have any workshops last month or special meetings, and I know I called some anyway. So I appreciate the commission's support as far as calling a special meeting and a workshop that was required last month. We're moving full steam ahead with the 5-year plan review by the state. Hopefully we'll have a response within a 20-day period. I have been, myself, Mr. Anthony, Ms. Lazier, and the city manager have been listening as well as participating in meetings on a weekly basis with the state in regards to the budget amendments, budget preparation, and 5-year plan. Everything's moving full steam ahead in a very positive manner. We see the 5-year plan coming across with full approval of the state by the end of the month, hopefully. As far as the 4 major challenges, I will reserve that for the last commission meeting of the month. And if any commissioners have any questions for me as far as the city manager's office is concerned, I'll take those questions at this time.
Any comments for the manager?
Mr. Mayor,
Commissioner Kelly?
thank you. A lot of mine is inside of the report, so I'll just wait on that. But I would just like, Mr. Manager, we've received a couple of emails here lately, and it's in the community, good, bad, or indifferent. So I'd like for you, at least from my perspective, you could give me a call or give us something in writing, kind of addressing some of these things that have come up via emails from employees, some of these things they've alleged or whatever. My concern is to make sure that our departments are running smoothly, and since that's a major concern we have, I want to make sure that it continues to run smoothly. So you can do that via report or give me a call, doesn't matter which way. Thank you.
Any other comments of the manager? All right, moving on to the official board reports. Madam Clerk, do we have any official board reports? All right, moving on to Mayor Commissioner reports. Commissioner Kelly.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Half my report was said at CRA, but I'll go over it again. The first one is citywide beautification. I have been asking and speaking with the manager and really for over some months now, and I know we weren't in a position financially to do it end of last year and beginning of this year, and then COVID-19 hit, was a citywide beautification for the city, inclusive of some cleanups and some simple things that could make our city look a little better. Mulch in our main thoroughfares, tree landscape. As I said earlier in the CRA meeting, we've the FPNL has upgraded a lot of our lighting, but I've had complaints from residents saying the lighting is good, but you can't really, it's not visible enough because the trees are covering all over on streets or various areas, which are the city's responsibility. And so I wanted to bring that up tonight to my colleagues for a citywide cleanup effort that I had mentioned to the manager a while back, hopefully getting the support of our waste haulers that could assist us with cans, bags, et cetera, those kind of things as a part of that in all areas of our city, not just one. I know it's mentioned about the Coachman Gardens, which I totally agree, but all over the city to do a beautification. It was my hope that we would have done one during the summer, but because of COVID-19, that was challenging. But I wanted to bring that up to the city commission going forward, and hopefully as a part of this, and I know I won't be here, but as a part of it, some kind of beautification cleanup, some kind of campaign going forward with some type of slogan, keeping our city clean, whatever that means, some kind of incentive, because we're making progress in terms of our finances, and we do have some resources we can spend on beautification, and mulch will go a long way. Simple tree trimming goes a long way. Certain things like that will go a long way in just beautifying our city and making it look better as we improve on our infrastructure and roadways. So I wanted to bring that up tonight, and hopefully if it requires some kind of legislation, I'll bring that back as well. But just simple things, thoroughfares, our welcome signs, flowers, mulch on our mediums, 27th, 22nd Avenue, the pruning of our trees that's all over in the roadways, hanging out that you can't see through lighting. So I wanted to bring that up and hopefully get the comments from my colleagues going forward that the city look at some kind of maybe quarterly something that we do as a community in all 4 areas or 4 sections of the city and galvanizing the community, hopefully, in doing that. The second thing, Mr. Mayor, as a part of my report was a public safety building. One of the things that concerned me, and I didn't, pull it to discuss, as a part of fire recovery, there's nothing really mentioned about a public safety building. And I think going forward at some point with what we're doing, potentially proposed for the municipal complex, we're going to have for-profit, nonprofit, whatever, in there together. At some point, the police department needs to have its own building. And I think that needs to be on the mindset. I felt it should be a part of fire recovery. But since it's not initially in there, that the commission needs to start to look as we accumulate dollars and things get better and all those kind of things, whether it's through grant possibilities or partnership with some of these, grant opportunities, PAL programs and such, that we look at putting a municipal building either back on the site it was or some new location, but to permanently be able to house the police department, the public safety in our city. And so those are the 2 things that are on my report that I want to bring up tonight. And I would love to hear my colleagues' input on it if possible. And we'll go forward from there. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Kelly. Any other reports?
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Burke.
Mr. Mayor, I sat here last night at the budget hearing, and I heard the budget director said that we had to bump up the millage rate to get money for the reorganization of the police department. And Mr. Mayor, we have don't get me wrong, we know that this company has done a lot of work. We know our finances are in order. But Mr. Mayor, from 01/2020 to 08/2020, we have paid tri-marriage $417,000. And we still don't have a finance director. Now, I think that's kind of come on us, because when we approved that contract, none of us asked any financial questions. None of us asked any financial questions. And for a consultant group that's using our offices, our employees, our equipment, that's almost $500,000. And then we have to go back and ask the residents, some who haven't been working because of COVID, to pay higher taxes for the reorganization of a police department, and then we spend this kind of money? Mr. Mayor, I just would like to know from the city manager, how much longer is it gonna take for us to get a functioning finance department where we don't have to be spending $417,000? I mean, this is the city of Opa-locka. We don't have this kind of money. And I also would like to know, was it budgeted? But these are questions we did not ask. We didn't tell the city manager when it got to a certain amount to let us know how much was going to be spent before we were told how much this has cost the city. I'm just saying, we're going to have to be on top of our game. We're going to have to know about stuff like this. And we need to get a functioning finance department as soon as possible. Because we cannot be spending this kind of money. We don't have it. We don't have it. And then we turn around and put it on the backs of our taxpayers, which is elderly taxpayers. We can do better than this, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Any other reports?
Mayor Paget?
Commissioner Bass?
Not so much a report, but I listened to Commissioner Kelly speak about the beautification that he would like to see in our city, as well as the rest of us. And I would just like to, just put out there, we can discuss it later or see if it's something that we can do as a city. As we know that we're still in COVID, and I know we won't be in COVID for the rest of our lives. I'm hoping that it's going to be over with soon. We can implement a program with seniors 11th grade students, 12th grade students, who are in need of community service hours for graduation. And in lieu of, having them to be a part of our quarterly cleanup, whatever we want to call it as a city, and award them community service hours. I think that will go a long way in helping to maintain what we do as a city as it relates to beautification. So I just want to put that out there. We can, partnership with the schools and see what we can do. Thank you.
Any other reports? All right. Just to circle back on a few things that we did today, I want to make sure the public and everyone understand that today is a very significant day. Some things passed on our consent agenda that moves this city in a significant step forward. We're dealing with our 4 major challenges: finances, our flooding, our water billing, and also our roads and streets. And the most important thing is the submission of our 5-year recovery plan, which was due back in 2016, and has been one of the top priorities of this administration to submit to the state of Florida, which will fulfill our interlocal agreement and put us in a significant path to getting out of this financial crisis. So kudos to the manager, budget administrator, finance, and also the state who helped with constant calls and technical assistance with our management, budget office, and finance to put this plan together and moving forward. Much respect for making that happen, and we hope that this is a plan that will be put forward and approved. We also approved our stormwater assessment and also moving Cairo Lane forward assessment. Those are 2 significant projects that will address flooding and also Cairo Lane. So I really appreciate the time invested in that. I do concur with Commissioner Kelly and Commissioner Bass about the beautification of our city. When the city manager was first hired, I asked him to drive through the city with me, walk the city with me. And we had a follow-up about 2 weeks ago where we did the same thing. And continuously, and I know this is something we all reiterate, is the beautification of our city, our parks, our roadways, our streets, our maintenance plans. And it is just unacceptable that we continue to have to ask about these things and find out what's going on. As Commissioner Bass continues to say, we want to do things, a community cleanup, but we got to do our part as a city and an administration to make sure that this stuff is clean, put together, trash is taken out, the mulch is together, just basic things, the medians are taken care of. And I'll strongly encourage my colleagues to stay on top of the manager and stay on top of manager to ensure that parks and public works and all those are responsible for that do what they need to do, because this is not the level of beautification that we want in our city. We want better, and we want to allocate them. If it's a funding issue, put it forward. What does it take to address this? In this budget, we didn't get any additional people, so we're thinking that it will be done. I would strongly encourage colleagues, please, and I hope that the manager comes next meeting with the report and a plan on how we're going to address all the areas, maintenance, the schedules, and put checks and balances and accountability to ensure that these things are done. And we know, all right, was this cleaned every week? The code enforcement cite these businesses for illegal dumping and trash and stuff like that. Just today, I went by the Family Dollar and there's trash all over the parking lot. And we say that almost every commission meeting, we continue to ask about these things. And it needs to get, and I don't understand what's the issue. So I hope that the manager comes forward with the report to very clearly lay that out, along with code enforcement, because there's an issue with the way we are enforcing the code, balanced and fairly all across the city. I know there's an investigation that's been going on for the past few months, and I'm looking forward to that report. But these are things that many of our residents and our business owners continue to ask about, and it is on us to make sure that they get done. That we hold the manager accountable to get these things done. And I look forward to seeing some type of report from the manager to give an update on where we are with this code enforcement investigation, and also where we are with addressing the constant talk about the beautification of our city, the dumping, the maintenance, and the basics. So I concur. And lastly, I do want to touch upon what Commissioner Burke mentioned in terms of finance, because we did ask quite a bit of questions when we awarded the contract initially to the financial consultant. And they came in during a time in which we were having troubles in our finance department. They support providing assessment of our finance department, help with completion of our audits and our finance plan, and work with the state very closely. So right now, our finance is our #1 challenge as a city, #1. And it is a huge Herculean effort to make sure that we put in place the policies and procedures for this operational audit, this 5-year recovery plan, these budgets, these audits, the bank reconciliations, all those things need to get done. So if there's a evaluation need to be done to make sure that we are getting what we pay for, I'm fully in support of that. But at the end of the day, it is our #1 challenge, and it will take an investment for us to address that challenge. So I look forward to seeing how we are moving. I know we mentioned during our last commission meeting the possibility of doing a search for a finance director. We've heard that one of the issues with that has been the lack of audits being completed and people being comfortable with coming in with some of the issues that we have financially, and that's why we have a consultant. But this is something that needs to get resolved and addressed. But I don't want to leave an impression that we aren't doing our due diligence as a city to ensure that we address our #1 challenge, and that is our finance in a fiscally responsible way. So I look forward to seeing those reports and that issue. And that concludes my report. So with that,
Mr. Mayor,
Commissioner Kelly.
I appreciate your comments, and I look forward to the report, and I hope it includes some timelines, time frames for getting some stuff done. Because, you know, me and you can go out there 6 feet and put some mulch in front of a sign. I mean, it don't take a whole lot of, you know, whatever. So I hope I got the long term, but some of the stuff is really simplistic. Coach McGard, some of the stuff is simplistic. So while we're getting the long, extensive report, I hope we get some short time frame things that we can do in the short term. I just wanted to throw it in. Thank you, sir.
Much respect, Commissioner Kelly. I fully agree. Fully agree.
Mr. Mayor. So first, I'd like to thank the commission for their input and their concerns. I will work on a status in regards to public works and the beautification effort. I've had multiple conversations with Mr. Austin, as well as the assistant city manager over the last week in regards to it. I have authorized overtime on the weekends for our staff, our public works staff, to come in to perform the work. So my question tomorrow is going to be what issues that we have, or what limitations do we have that we're not getting the work done. So I'll make sure that a formal plan be put together by Public Works Department as submitted to the commission in regards to the beautification effort, because that is a matter that has been up for constant discussion. The mayor did come out in the field with us 2 weeks ago on his request to take a tour of the city in regards to various code enforcement issues that he observed, as well as beautification issues. I know we've had, the city manager had a recent conversation with Commissioner Bass in regards to beautification efforts that she desires. If any other commissioners want to do a beautification program on the weekend, I can have staffing available to assist and support that program. If they want to have specific areas they want focus on that they want to participate in, but I want to ensure that we do have the staff resources to ensure that the general beautification of the city is performed without any beautification efforts or programs that are going to be implemented by individual commissioners or individuals of the public. I have allocated overtime dollars for this effort, and again, I will ask for a report on that. as far as the finance department is concerned, I will say this. I will not make any statements in the public in regards to personnel issues or personnel matters that go on. And I appreciate and respect Commissioner Kelly asking me to give him a phone call or something in writing in regards to the matter. I will not, and I will not drag any dirty laundry out in open commission meetings. And for that to be brought up as a subject of discussion for a potential response, I find is a little taken aback, because I know as a commission and myself, we want to operate with all the facts before we come to judgment. So I appreciate the mayor making the statements that he made in regards to the finance department, it being one of the largest concerns that we have in the city. And as far as dollar amounts, there were multiple budget amendments that brought before the commission that specifically stated specific line items in dollars that was going to the financial consultant. So the commission did have visibility at through budget amendment process. And I can bring that documentation back up and Mr. Anthony sent out to the commission as shortly as by this Friday. So there is transparency, because I do not want anybody to think that the city manager's office is approving payments or making payments that have not been approved by the city commission or have visibility by the city commission, because that is totally false and not true. And I can provide the backup documentation that's brought up in these budget amendment items that brought up multiple times. And then there's just not Ms. Lazier. There's a team of financial professionals that we've brought in to backfill positions that we have within the finance department. We just got an audit that was just performed. We're down several audits. We have one more audit to go to be up current. So I will make sure that this documentation is provided to the commission. So this $400 and some odd $1,000 dollar amount that's being realized is actually conceptualized, and we can see where this money went instead of just a blanket dollar amount being thrown out there. So that's all I have, Mr. Mayor. I just want to kind of clarify on those two items.
Thank you. And I know you mentioned overtime. I think that, and correct me if I'm wrong, anyone on the commission, we would like to see beautification be a regular part of city services, like period. Regular part of making sure that our city is beautiful. That is something that's been too long neglected. And I know that was also mentioned in the CRA meeting too. So I know we have the capacity to do it. We just want to make sure it gets done as a regular function of the city. So we look forward to seeing what that looks like with, as Commissioner Kelly said, immediately steps. Like there are, we don't point it out quite a bit. I mean, there's a long list.
I understood, Mr. Mayor. I understand that the reason I'm bringing up overtime hours is because we have to get the city to a certain beautification standard to get to a point of maintaining and moving forward. So I understand where you're coming from as far as it being done on a daily basis, of course. But what's being requested of the commission, and due to the limitations of the Public Works Department at this point, is going to require overtime hours and individuals coming in on Saturdays to do these larger projects that you all want to see done. As far as, like we mentioned, mulch, there's a lot of different tasks that the Public Works Department has. And Public Works is actually down employees. They're actually don't have the staffing that I would realize or want to see them have. And there are a lot of things going on, especially due to the pandemic. You have you got to remember, we got the road patching that we got going on, that we have that's done once a week, and there are other tasks that are done. But to put this and conceptualize it, I will make sure this is in writing so you guys can see what they do on a daily basis, see where we need to be, so we're at a daily point of maintaining. And then if we need to tweak it or move things around, we'll do that.
but I will make sure a document is provided before the next commission meeting.
We look forward to seeing it.
Mr. Mayor,
Vice Mayor Davis.
if I could just add one thing, I'm sorry, I know I didn't speak under my report, but you know, as we go forward and kind of conceptualize a volunteering or something on a continual basis for beautification, just checking precedent. I know Commissioner Kelly had he championed a beautification program that you know, that involved a lot of our residents. They were really engaged in the beautification and kind of maintenance, if you will, of our city. You know, I would make some sort of recommendation like that, whether it's just, you know, holding recurring volunteer opportunities that allow our community to engage, or you know, if we create some sort of program where maybe we could pay, you know, our residents and partner with Career Source. I know they have various programs where they pay for training and a certain percentage of the first wages. So you know, those kind of ideas is along the lines of kind of like where I'm headed and what I'm thinking as far as beautification. Involving your community, it always adds to sustainability long term. You know, if they beautify it, they won't mess it up, right? So, you know, that's usually the intent behind something like that. So with that, I'm done, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for the time.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Love those ideas, and I hope that we can incorporate stuff like that as a city. All right, hearing no other further discussion, are there any official board appointments?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
There's a member on the Planning and Zoning Board, Dawn Magnum, whose term has expired. She expressed her interest in continuing to serve on that board. I'm not sure if the City Commission is prepared at this time to make that appointment.
Isn't that my appointment?
No, the Planning and Zoning Board is at large, so it's the appointment is by the City Commission as a whole.
All right. So we want to make a motion to reappoint Ms. Magnum.
Mr. Mayor.
I'll put the motion on the floor. Okay.
All right, hold up. I got, who was that? Kelly, Vice Mayor Davis, who was it?
That was both of us. Yeah.
All right. So
I'll second it, Mr. Mayor.
Moved by Commissioner Kelly, second by Vice Mayor Davis. In discussion, Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Kelly?
Yes.
Commissioner Bass?
Yes.
Commissioner Burke?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Davis?
Yes.
Mayor Pygott?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0. Mr. Mayor, we also had an individual from the Planning and Zoning Board who recently resigned, Mr. Tyler, I believe his name is, and he resigned due to the financial disclosure requirement. He was not interested in filing that form, so there will be another vacancy on the Planning and Zoning Board that needs to be filled.
All right. Do we have any applications for the board appointments?
Not at this time, Mr. Mayor.
All right. I strongly encourage our residents to please step up. These boards are based upon those who step up.
I could use it at work.
Yeah, this is based upon those who step up. So please file your board application in the clerk's office. Madam Clerk, is the application online?
I'm not sure. I believe it is, but I'll double check. And if it's not, I'll make sure that it's on there.
All right. So please reach out to the clerk's office. Hopefully it'll be online along with the open board appointments. And is there a city page that has open board appointments and board application rules, all that?
No, I'll make sure that I take care of that. I've been working on the city clerk's page, so I'll make sure that that's taken care of at some point this week.
All right. If we can do that, that'd be great. And I don't know is it possible for us to publicize that through our social media channels and e-blast once that site is up so that we can get more applications?
I'll send the information, Mr. Mayor, to the city manager's office so that they can assist in that effort.
Okay. All right. That'd be helpful. All right. Strongly encourage our residents to step up so that we can move forward with that. With that, I see no further items on the agenda for today. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Move it.
Moved by Commissioner Kelly,
Second.
second by Commissioner Bass. Everyone have a good evening. And also, please note that we are still in the pandemic. Don't let up. The numbers are still high where we shut everything down at the beginning. So please make sure you stay safe and mask up. Opa-locka.